And just what is Benjamin Netanyahu's endgame in Gaza? Let's focus on the Israel-Hamas war now. Is it to decimate Hamas? Is it to have control over all of Gaza? What happens when Israeli forces take over the entire Gaza Strip? Do they hand back charge eventually to the Palestinians? And why does Netanyahu want to prolong this war, even as the Biden administration is pushing for a faster solution? First, let's listen in to what Prime Minister Netanyahu has had to say.
After Hamas, Gaza needs to be demilitarized. But in order for Gaza to be demilitarized, there's just one force that can do it, and that power is the IDF. No international force can be responsible for that. We saw in other places that what happened when they brought in international forces for demilitarization. I'm not willing to close my eyes and accept any other arrangement.
So according to the statement, the IDF should retain control of Gaza even after the war. He said there will be no international involvement, no international forces. 60 days after the war, Israeli forces have encircled all of Gaza, pushing back thousands of civilians to rush to the Rafah border with Egypt or simply die. Netanyahu believes it must be a complete purge. Hamas must be wiped off from the face of the earth. He says he won't stop until he has achieved this goal. But can the Hamas be disarmed completely? Well, its forces are spread all across. It has regional partners, support from other Arab nations. According to the Wall Street Journal, there are some 30,000 odd fighters in Gaza alone. Only 5,000 of those have been killed. You see, Hamas still retains the majority of its fighting forces. Can Netanyahu really destroy the Hamas? And how long is it going to take? According to the French President Macron, it would take a decade. Listen in to what he said.
Aujourd'hui, il est suspendu, vous l'avez très bien dit.
We are at a moment when Israeli authorities must more precisely define their objectives and their final goal, the total destruction of Hamas. Does anyone think it is possible? If this is the case, the war will last 10 years, and I don't think that anyone can seriously define these objectives, so they need to be defined.
And who says that Hamas is just going to wait and watch during this time? In 10 years, thousands more can join the group. Has Netanyahu factored in all of this? Maybe he has. He is Israel's longest-serving prime minister. He has been in the war zone himself. He was part of an elite unit of the Israeli army. Back in 1973, he served in the Yom Kippur War. Put simply, Netanyahu knows his way around wars. But is his strategy against Hamas? Netanyahu says it is impossible to achieve his goals without a ground incursion. So, he has razed Gaza to the ground. But what has that really achieved? Other than the fact that thousands of civilians have been killed. Hamas leaders, including its chief, Yahya Sinwar, are cooped up in underground tunnels. Netanyahu has a solution for this. And what exactly is that solution? To flood the tunnels with seawater. Israel has reportedly assembled a system of large pumps, and it is mulling to use it for flooding Gaza's vast network of underground tunnels. The system has at least 5 pumps. Each of them can draw water from the Mediterranean Sea and move thousands of cubic meters of water every hour. It would not only drive Hamas out, but also destroy the tunnels for good. How long would that take? Roughly a few weeks. Israeli forces have already flattened northern Gaza. Now they are aiming to force Hamas out of Khan Yunis. But where do hostages feature in Netanyahu's strategy? About 137 hostages still remain unaccounted for. What is Israel doing to bring them back? And what about the other civilians? Around 16,200 have been killed in Gaza. 7,100 of those are children. 4,900 women. All of this for what? Hamas is only 5,000 fighters short. Going by these numbers, for each Hamas personnel, more than 3 civilians have been killed. Israel has put the figure at 2. It even has a ratio. The Israeli military says 2 civilians killed for every Hamas militant is a tremendously positive ratio. Netanyahu is facing heavy external pressure to stop civilian casualties. Reports say the US wants the war to be wrapped up by January. Several other countries have condemned Israel for the deaths of innocents. Many of them are from West Asia. But civilians are still dying in hundreds by the day. Is Netanyahu simply trying to prolong the war? What would he achieve by that? More time in power, I guess. Because at this point, his survival in office cannot be taken for granted. His corruption trial has resumed. Would Israel risk a chance or a change in leadership rather during these tough times? Seems unlikely. The Hamas attack has shifted the focus from Netanyahu's failures to the war, and keeping that war going on now seems to be his survival strategy. He has vowed to continue till Hamas comes to an end.